Hey everybody, Pastor Ashley here. Just got some things I want to share with you, and I want to kind of re-emphasize the messages that Pastor Vance has been sharing with us about, the standard, your purpose, your vision, and action. And so I'm just going to go over some things, and I'm going to do this in 3 parts, or try to make it in 3 parts. So all of you should be getting this as far as the scriptures, right? About raising the standard. What does that look like? What does that mean? What does that mean for our church? What does it mean for you personally? And I think all of us have to go through times when we have to look and say, what is the standard, that I'm living by now? What am I doing that's raising a standard in my life? How do people see me? Because that's really kind of what it boils down to. How do people see me? How do they see my commitments to the things that I do? Or am I just kind of wishy-washy about everything and, just whatever comes, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But that's not really the way we should live our lives, and that's not the way we want our church to operate in this community, especially in this season. So in Numbers 152, where it talks about or the instruction is given to the Israelites for every family to come outside their tent and stand by their standard and raise that standard. Well, the standard has to be raised for everybody to stand by it, right? Well, a little bit of history behind that is the Israelites, when they came out of Egypt, they had marching orders. Each tribe was designated a certain place as they marched out of Egypt, as they went into the desert land, as they went into the promised land eventually. They had marching orders by tribe. Those were the 12 sons of Jacob, right? So they all had a specific place to where they were supposed to march, and the Levites and the priests and the people who were helping the Levites, they had a place in all that too. Well, they recognized each other's tribes by that standard, by that banner or flag, if you will. And so they could look and see, okay, over there is the tribe of Judah. Over there is the tribe of Levi. There's the priest. And so they could recognize each other, and they knew where they all were, especially if they went into battle. It was a signaling device. It was something to say, here we are. This is where we're standing right now. And so that banner is an identifier. The standard you live by identifies you in your community, or even, just by your neighbors. All right? If I had, 10 broken down cars sitting out in my front yard all the time, and I was never doing anything with them, the hounds and the raccoons were living in all those cars, that's a standard. People are going to look at me and say, yeah, that's where Ashley lives. He's always got all them old cars sitting out there. All right? Now that might be okay if I'm a mechanic and I'm working on them, I'm trying to get them running, or maybe I'm piecing them together to make a hot rod or something. That's still going to be an identifier. People will know that I'm doing something with those. Some of you live in communities that have an HOA. Well, that HOA has a standard, right? That you can't have certain things out in the driveway, out in the yard. Everything's got to be neat. Everybody's got to have the same grass, because they want that community to be identified as having a certain standard. So what is the standard that we're wanting to set here in this church? We want to do everything with excellence, but we want to go beyond that. We want to do the very best that we can do in everything we do, in the ministry, in what's going on here. Once we open this up and we start bringing in the girls to house these women, we want to do that with excellence. We don't want it to just be a flop house. Any of you ever been to a flop house? A homeless shelter? There's just things there. You look around and you think, man, I wouldn't want to spend the night here. Okay? So we want to have a certain standard. And so along with this, we want everybody to look at the standard that we're trying to set here at our church for our goals, for the ministry we do, but we also all need to look around at the standard that we live in our lives. What are the standards we make? How do people see us? And it's not about looks, but it's about, as I said, that identifier. People will come to this church. More people will come to this church when they see that we're doing things above excellence, above and beyond what is expected. That was one of the things that I learned in customer service, working in retail, to go beyond what is expected to make the customer happy. You know, if a customer had a problem and they were just irate, one of the first things I learned was to give them a gift. You know, maybe they had a problem with a product or something, or maybe they just had a problem with an employee or a cashier or whatever, and they're just irate. Well, one of the ways to diffuse that whole thing was to just go over to the shelf and find them a gift. Find them something it might be a box of Whitman's chocolates, or it could have been anything, but anything. Give them a gift to go above and beyond what they were expecting, because what they come in and expect is for me to, you know, stand against them. And so the secret of customer service is to go above and beyond what is expected to make sure that customer is getting, at the very least, the best customer service they can probably get, right? So we want to provide that customer service here at ARC. When people come in, we want them to feel welcome. We want them to feel alive. We want them to feel excited about being here. We want them to see things going on here in this church that is going to make them want to join with us in the things that we're doing, not just here in the community, but around the world, right? So that's the first thing. The next thing is Jeremiah 29:11, where we talk about purpose. What is your purpose? And as I was praying about this and thinking about these little lessons and trying to bring out these bullet points, I want to read you something, because I believe part of finding our purpose comes out of Psalm 119. Psalm 119 is the middle chapter of the Bible. It's the longest chapter in the Bible, but those scriptures are broken down according to the Hebrew alphabet. And so I'm going to give you an example of one thing I've learned, and I have to give all credit to my brother from another mother, Dr. Sakina, and I would ask you all keep him in prayers. He's been struggling with some health issues. But how do I find out what my purpose is? What is my purpose? Well, I found out that this is one way to find out what your purpose is, or at least this is what I call a jumping off spot. Any of you ever went to the swimming pool and you looked at that high dive and you were like, man, that's high. I don't know if I want to jump off of that thing. So you had to build yourself up and go ahead and get up there and jump off of it. So here's the diving board, and I'm going to use Laura Murphy as an example. So I'm going to take the first letter out of her name, Laura. All right. Now, the ancient Hebrew, that letter would have been written with the symbol of a shepherd's hook or a shepherd's staff, as we know it by. And that letter, Lamed, means to yoke, to teach, to bind, and authority. And in the yoking and binding, it just simply means bringing together. All right. I read a long time ago that you can take a draft horse and you can pull a certain amount of weight. But if you take two experienced draft horses, you can triple the amount of weight that those two can pull together. So that yoking and binding is bringing things together. So I took these scriptures out of Psalms that are headed under the Hebrew character Lamed, and I changed it, because I have found, and I personally believe, that these verses speak to us individually. And, you know, maybe this is part of the scrolls that the scripture talks about. So I've changed it. So it's not, you can read along with me, but this is going to sound different, because I wrote this as if God was writing this to Laura when she was in her mother's womb. And it goes like this. Psalm 119, starting with verse 89. My word is forever. I am Adonai Eloheinu, and my word is firmly established in the heavens. My faithfulness continues from generation to generation. I established the earth, and it stands firm. To this day, they stand by means of my rulings, for all things serve me. My instruction shall be your pleasure, and you would have died in your affliction. You will never forget my precepts, for I revive you with them. You are mine. I will save you, since you have sought my precepts. The wicked lay in wait to destroy you while you ponder my decrees. You have observed all the things, and that they have limits, but my commandment is very broad. So as I changed these verses, especially the ones that pertain to my name, and read them as if God was writing those specifically to me or speaking those over me, made them part of my scroll, whatever you want to call that or describe it, and I began to see a purpose in my life. Because each consonant in your name, you can go to Psalm 119 and refer to those verses that apply. And then we can begin to find out our purpose, or at least where it started. Because we can continually seek God and ask Him, what am I doing? What am I supposed to be doing? What does it look like? Lord, I need your help to make that look the way you want it to look. So the first two things in this short lesson, again, was raising your standard. What is your identifier? Do you do things with excellence? Every time you do something, do you try to do it the very best you can? Or if you don't know how to do it, do you try to learn how to do it if it's something that you really need to do? You know, one of the things Pastor Vance has been telling the leaders is, if I can't, I must. All right? So if I say I can't do something, then what must I do to be able to do it? Do I need to learn something? Do I need to just put my hands to it? Which is going to go into the next lesson that I'm going to bring you shortly. So thank you for listening. I hope this kind of bullet points some things just to give you some more to meditate about as we're talking about these four concepts. Thanks for listening.